Yesterday what we have discussed, or class and okay. So in this class and object, what example we took first? Student. How many attributes are there for student? ID, name, contact number and email. Correct. So first we will create the blueprint, then we will create the object from the blueprint. Correct. So in blueprint we will not give any values, because this is actually what we are creating here. All these datas are different data types, right? This is integer, string, long, then string. So different data types we have. We are taking this together inside a student class. So we can create objects and we can specify the values for different objects, different values for different object. Correct. So we created the blueprint first. Using this blueprint, we created the object. So after creating the object, we given the values to all these different variables. I given a name, like I said one name for this variables. What is that name? Okay, attribute is also one thing, but based on class, one name I given. Instance variables of the class. That is attribute actually. Attribute of that item is instance variables of the. So these are instance variables of the class. Whatever properties or attributes a class can take, that we will list down as instance variables. So any doubt in creation of class? Why we are not using main method in that? We can use, there is no restriction. Why we are not using? Because what is this class? Basically what is a class? Blueprint of, so it is a structure or design of the item, right? Item is student here. So we are giving a design or a structure for that object. How many attributes? 4 attributes. So we will create this as a blueprint. Using that blueprint, we will create the object. So what is the difference between, can you tell me what is the difference between class and object right now? What is the difference? How many differences you can say? Come on, try. How many differences you can point out? By using classes, we are creating object. Okay. But what is the difference? Without class, can I create an object? Okay. Then class contains attributes, and by using that class we can create the object. Okay, fine. So my question is, what is the difference? This is a blueprint, right? What is the difference between blueprint and a building? It's an idea, right? So class is also just an idea, because we don't have a value there, we don't have anything, we are just creating an idea. So this is the item. For this item I have this many attributes, so I can create different item of similar type. Correct. How can I create, I can create n number of students using this class. Correct. For different students I can give different values to that object, not to the class. Correct. You can also take an example of ID card. We all have ID cards, right? Did you got ID card from Talents? So we all have ID card. We had ID card in college. Correct? So do you know the template of ID card? There is a template for ID card, right? So whenever a new student is coming, what we will do with that ID card, like that template, we will add all the details about that particular student and we will create that ID card. So template is remaining same. Getting my point? Template is there. We will give all the values from which object we are creating. About that object we will create all the datas, we will insert all the datas in that template, and we will create an ID card. So ID card we can consider as an object. Template is what? Class. An idea we created. So based on that we are creating the object. So what will be the difference between template and ID card right now? Can you give some example? Template is a design. Can you carry template in your with you? No, right? We will create that ID card using the template. I'm saying, can you use template as your ID card? No, right? Using that we have to create the object. Object is our ID card. Then we can use that with us. Correct? That is a difference here also. We are creating the idea first. Using that idea I can create n number of items. Here the item is student. So we can create n number of student objects. So each object will be in different memory location, right? Each ID card will be in different like it is different ID cards, right? We are not updating in the same ID card for different students. Getting my point? Whenever we are creating a new ID card, it is a new thing. It is not the old one. Or are you understanding the difference? Whenever we are creating a new ID card, it will be the new one. It will not be the same old one. Correct? We will create new one for new student. So in that way also objects are created in the memory location as new. So one object will be located in one memory location, another will be in another memory location. So each will be in different memory location. I can create n objects. Any doubt in that? So how we can create the object here? In our main method, so we have created another class also, student main. Then in that main method we created, inside main method what we have did, how we can create object? Class name, object name, new and constructor. We will discuss about what is constructor and all those things. And after creating that, what we did? So we created an object, but object is not containing any data, right? So what we have to do? We can initialize each fields of the object. See, template also, like you can consider ID card template. Template we are downloading, and we will update the values of the particular student. Then we will give that ID card to the student. Getting my point? So we will create that ID card first, then we will update the data in that. So same thing we are doing here also. Correct? We are creating the object by using class name, object name equal to new, constructor. What is constructor? Class name plus method bracket. So this we can called as constructor. So by creating this line we are creating the object. So this object will be in a memory location without any values. So we have to give some value, right? How we can give the value? Object name dot, because I am going to give the value into this object. That is why I am pointing to that object. Then the variable. So variable name equal to, I can give any value. Any doubts in this? Creating a class and object. Any doubt in this? Yes or no? Okay, so I told you to create user class. How many of you created user class? Okay, that also. Okay, fine. So, okay, we will create a user class then. How many attributes are required? User name, okay, name. Anything you can decide. We will create, just for understanding we are creating. User ID, user name, okay. Then gender, then address. Okay, we can give address also. Date of birth, mail. Okay, fine. This is enough. Can you create a class for user? And how many attributes are there right now? 6 attributes are there. Okay, so create a class with the six instance variables and create one object of this class. Where you will create the object? If you are creating user class, you can create user main. Don't keep main method inside your user class, because like you might get confused. That's why I don't want to make that situation. So that is why I'm giving that idea of creating new class. So create our blueprint class as separate one and create our main method class as separate one, because every time while working with the projects we will create model classes first. We will create model classes first. So these are model classes, right? Blueprint classes means what? It is a model of the item, correct? So we will create model classes. That is what we are doing here also. Student is a model class here. Student main is the implementation. Like we are connecting this model class with our console. We will perform all the logics in main method and we are connecting that with our console. So create user class. Create fast. So have you created that class? Blueprint class? Create the object and give the values also. have you completed this creation of one object and printing all the data, right? How many lines you are taking for doing this operation? How many lines you are taking for creating an object and printing all, giving all the, initializing all the values and printing all the values? Okay, fine. But in that also you are using all the items, right? One by one. Okay. So how many lines? Minimum it will be 8 lines. Correct. Minimum. Maximum it can be this many lines. Correct. 13 lines. So if I have to create 10 objects, then correct, 10 objects, then will be increasing, right? So this operation, what is this operation? Selected operation. What are the operations we are doing here in the selected portion? Creating the object and initializing. We also did creation of variable and initialization, right? In variable, object and variable is different, that I will show you today. So in that also we created the variable and initializing the variable we did in 2 lines, right? We also did that in same line. Instead of initializing that separately, we did that in same line also, right? So variable creation, what is this? Variable initialization. In the same way I am initializing the object, because I have 3 different fields in that object, right? That is why I am using 3 lines. Here only one data I can store in a variable. So variable also can be we can write in this way also, right? What we are doing here? Creating and initializing same line together, correct? In this way also I can create the variable. So is that possible in object concept? In that same way, can we initialize while creating the object itself? Here what we are doing, first we are creating the object, then we are initializing. So while creating itself, can we initialize? Together, these 2 operations together in same time. For that we are using constructor. So how many values are there? How many values are there? How many values are there? 5 values. So we have to pass all that 5 values into this constructor. Before that, one thing, we have to create the constructor, that I will show you. So all the values, if we can pass into constructor, and we are, while creating the object itself, if we can initialize this, then how many line it will take? 1 line for creating the object and another line for printing the data, correct? But for this, first we have to do what? We have to create the constructor. Where we will create the constructor? What is this? What is this selected portion? Class name, right? So inside that class we have to create a constructor. So where is the class? Go to the class, and these are the attributes, right? These are for these attributes we are going to create a constructor, which will help us to assign the data while creating the object itself. So what is the constructor name? User, then so constructor always we will keep as public, class name, then bracket opening and closing, that is constructor, the strict nature of constructor. Then we will give how many datas are there. So while giving parameters, we have to specify data type also, right? This we learned in methods. Same technique we are implementing here while creating parameters. So these are parameters because I will give some data inside the constructor from main method, right? That value should come into the this portion. That is why we are taking parameters. How many values to be initialized? That all the parameters we have to list down here. Getting my point? So all the parameters list down. After that, inside the bracket, how can I initialize? These values are coming from main method. How can I initialize this to these variables? This value I have to store in this variable because this is class variable, right? These are class variables. These are parameters, correct? And these values are coming from main method. So this value, the value which is coming, I have to store inside this variable. How can I map it? We have to map the data, right? How can I map it? How can I map it? I have to write id equal to id, right? So what I will do right now is just I am changing the name. I will again come back to the same variable names. This is just for your understanding. You don't have to do like this every time. So id equal to idu. What is idu? What is idu? User id, that's it. Why I am using u? Because this is user class, right? Just I am giving you. You don't have to do this. For understanding this concept, I am giving this idea. You don't have to create in this way. We will focus on creating the id itself, the variable name, the instance variable name and parameter name will be same because we don't have to make a confusion. We will come to that point later again. So idu is what here right now? What is idu? Parameter, right? So from where the value will come? Main method, correct? That value will come into this idu and that we are storing in id. Same way, like what are the things I have to write? Name equal to name u, then age equal to age u. Why I am writing age equal to age u? Can I write age u equal to age? Age u equal to age? Why? What is our idea? Whatever value we are giving inside that main method, that should come here and update in this instance variable. Instance means what? What is an instance of a class? Object. Object is an instance, which means we are creating the object as an instance of the class. Like as a we are considering that class as a template. We are creating an object from that template and we are giving the values. So actually we are not assigning to the variables of the class. We are assigning to these values we are assigning to the variables of the object. Getting my point? Because this is an idea, only idea, right? Class is just an idea. Getting my point? Using this idea we are creating object. So if I am giving a value from main method, this is not actually initializing in the variables, like these variables. This is not actually initializing in these variables. It will initialize in where? Object variables. Already I said, when an object is created, that will be inside a memory location. In that memory location, all these fields will be there. Correct? How many fields will be there? 6. Into that fields, we are giving that. What we are doing in this main class? What we are doing here? What we were doing here? Right now, we changed it to constructor. What we were doing here? We were using user1 dot selecting the variable and assigning. Same thing is happening here also. User1, why we are specifying? Because that is the object. So whenever I am creating an object, that object will contain some fields. How many fields are there here? 6 fields. Getting my point? The object contains 6 fields, and to the object I am initializing the data. Clear? That is why we were giving user1 dot. Same thing will happen here. User1 we are creating, along with that we are assigning the data. So all these data will contain in which position? User1 object. In that memory location all this data will contain. Any doubt? So this class we are using just a helper item, where this object, while creating the object, this constructor will be called, and all the values of this variable will be assigned with respect to whatever value we are giving, and the object will be created. Same time object creation and initialization. Any doubt? So how we can continue this? Gender, you, then last one, email ID equal to I is capital. Okay. Any doubt in this? Is that clear? But our idea is actually we will use directly ID. We will not use any other name. The same instance variable name we will use as parameter. Here, because of we are using you don't have to confuse anything actually, right? But if it is a big project, we cannot create manually all these items. We have to generate these items automatically. So at that time, this data will be what? Same as the instance variable. So what is the error here? What is the error here? Is there any error here? Is there any error here? No. Then what is the yellow mark? What is this variable? Is that instance variable? There is a color. Instance variable color is blue. Parameter variable color is what? While we were giving some another variable here, the color is changing. What is this variable? Instance variable. What is this variable? But right now, can you see any instance variable here? Can you find out any instance variable here? Yes or no? Why? In this method, we have already one variable which is ID, and we are writing ID equal to ID. So how we can point that this first variable is instance variable? Any idea? This keyword, what is the use of this keyword? It is pointing to the current class instance variable. So it is pointing to the current class or object. Getting my point? So this will point to the instance variable in this way. So we can, here right now, is there any problem? This selected portion is instance variable, this is parameter. So whatever parameter value is coming, that we will assign. So which method we are using there? Which technique we are using there? This. What is the use of this keyword? Pointing to the current instance item. Here it is variable, instance variable. Okay. Any doubt? So every time we will create the parameter name in constructor, the parameter name will be same as instance variable, but at the time we have to use this keyword. Here I am creating the constructor so that I can use, I have to, whatever update I am making here, I have to save it. So I have saved and I am going to the main class. So right now any error is there? So parameter list of parameters and argument list must be same, order must be same. See here, what order we are using, the same order I have to pass here also, correct? That anyway in method also it is same. I cannot change the order of arguments because parameter is already specified. In that order I have to pass all the values. So these values will be assigned in that object variables. Any doubt? So let's run this program. What will happen? In one line I am creating the object and we will print the data. Is that printing? So this is performing, right? So user.i is what? User1.id is what? User1.id is what? The one which we passed here. Then user1.name, this name which we have given there. So while creating the object itself, constructor is helping us to initialize the value. So what is the use of a constructor? Creating the object and initializing the value. Getting my point? So create a constructor in this way in your class. Create your constructor. Do it fast. Any doubt in this? So we created constructor. So using constructor we are creating the object and initializing same time. Correct? Okay. So if I have to take these values from user, how can I take these values from user? These values I have to take from user. So anyway scanner we have to use because console we are doing, console applications we are doing. So scanner, then after this scanner object is created. Then what we have to do? What is the first data? Enter the ID. Okay. Then after asking for ID, what we have to do? We have to take that into a variable. So ID equal to sc dot next int. Then so what is the next item? Name variable I am using. What is the data type? String. And which method I can use? Next line. Okay. Then what is next? So age, what is the data type? What is the data type? Okay, I have taken what? Age is integer, character and string. So I will ask for what? Age. Enter the age. Then int age equal to sc dot next int. What is the next item? Gender, right? Enter the gender. Okay, then char gender equal to sc dot next. Char is there, sc dot char. next char, next then char at 0. Then what is the last item? Enter the main. What is the data type? String mail equal to sc dot next line. Next is enough. Okay. So we are taking all the datas. Before creating the object, we are taking all the datas. Any doubt in this? Using scanner, all the datas we are taking from user, correct? Any doubt in this? After taking the data, here what data I can pass? ID, then here name variable, then here age, gender, email. Any doubt? Any doubt in this? We are taking all the values from user and giving that variables to directly to this constructor. So constructor will be created using these data, right? So if I have to add 10 users details, what will I do? Again I have to ask these items, right? How many times I will ask? 10 times. How many objects will be there? How many objects will be there? 10 objects. Line of code, how many line of code will be there? More than, correct? We don't know, like it depends on how many lines are there right now here. Here 11. One more line will be there for printing. Correct. So 10 data means 110 lines will be there. Correct. So how can I reduce that line of code? I have to create 10 objects. How can I reduce that? I can use loop, but where will I store the data? In one variable I cannot give different objects, right? If I am giving, I will get only the last data. Objects will be created in different memory location, and variable is using for what? Pointing to that memory location. So if I am giving another data, it will point to the different memory location. Getting my point? Variable is just pointing to different memory locations. So how can I take 10 objects? So I have to create 10 users, 10 user details I have to store. For that, every time I will ask to user to give the details. So where will I store these different items, the objects? Where can I store different items? Have we learned any item which where we can store different multiple data in same variable? Multiple data in same variable. Using same variable, can we store multiple data? Array. What is an array? Similar type of data we can store in an array. So if I am creating integer array, all the elements will be what? Integer elements. If I am creating user array, then all the elements will be what? What is the size of this array? User can select, right? We are asking user to give the value. With that we are creating the size. How many elements will be there? Size elements, correct? And each element of this array will be what? Each elements of this array. If it is an integer array, each element will be what? Integer. If it is a user array, each element will be what? User objects. That's it. Getting my point? All other concepts are same. We are creating an array of users. So each element of user array will be what? User objects. So I can store user objects into different positions. So I don't have to repeat the operation. I don't have to write this code again and again. I can right now I can use a loop. Correct. I can create I can create an object. That object I can store into users of 0. Second object I will create and I will add that into users of 1. This I can do in a loop. So 10 or 100 I can create any number of users here, and I am storing that as an array. Any doubt? Right now that we can do using loop, right? Here size time I have to run the loop. Simple. Getting my point, everyone? So try to implement this. How many times we have to loop? Which loop I can use? We can use any. Here I am using for because I know how many times I have to run the loop. So where will I start? Int I equal to array I am pointing, so index position is there 0, then I less than users dot, or I can say size also, that is there, then I plus plus. In this I have to take all the datas. For I equal to 0 I will start taking the data from user. These datas I will take and I will create an object. This object where will I store? Where can I store this object? Where can I store these objects? What we have created? What is this? Array. This is the first object. How can I store that object into the first index position? Users of I equal to user 1. Then at last I will be incrementing I plus plus. Understanding? So you know what is an array, right? You know how to take the values from user, right? We discussed that in first module. Only one thing we have learned in this module as a new thing is creating the object. With the values we are creating the object and we are adding that into the first index position of the array. So each index position will contain different objects with the different values, and that value is given by user. Any doubt in this program? This is the only one thing, right? All the other items we discussed, already we discussed. New thing is only one line. This line is the new thing. Remaining all we discussed in first module. Correct? So you have to create a program where user can select how many, like our user can select the number of users and each details user will enter, that we have to collect into an in an array. And after all, how we can print the array? How many elements are there right now? Size elements are there, right? That we don't know. It can be 5, 10 based on the user input. So that many time I have to print all the values of the array. For that also I have to use loop, right? Getting my point? So how can I finish this loop? I will start from then users dot length, then I plus plus, then correct? I plus 1 why I am using? Because I don't want to say 0. First user details or second user details, likewise I am going to print. It is your wish, I am just giving you an idea. So what is the error here? We have to use plus here also, yes. So here I am going to print first user details. What are the user details? How can I print? System.out.println. What is the first detail? ID, right? So I will give a message ID colon plus. Can I use ID? No. What I have to use? Users of I dot ID. Why? Because each index position of users array contains the object. That object dot I. Any doubt? Understanding what we are doing here? Users is our array. That 0th element of users is what? First user object. That first user object dot ID. I will print the ID. Again, how many data I have to print here? Name. Next one is name. How can I print? Users of I dot name. Any doubt? Then again, next one. What is next one? Age, right? Yes, age. So age colon, this is a message, then we are giving what? Users of I age. So we will get one object. We are using users.I, we are pointing to one object and we are printing all the details of that object. Any doubt? So can you create this program? The program is what? We have a blueprint. Using that blueprint, I have to create n objects of that blueprint and I am printing all the details. But I don't have to write the code manually. It should work repeatedly. The code for one user details collecting and creating the object should work n times, so that I don't have to repeat the code, right? So that is why we are using the array and loop. Using array and loop, I am creating n objects and printing. So can you complete this thing? Any doubt in this? Any doubt in this idea? Yes or no? Okay. So any doubt in this? So right now you know how to create n number of objects of a class and how to store that objects in a collection array, right? So here we created the collection of user objects. That collection name is what? Users. Users array we created, and in that we are storing all the users. Any doubts? How many of you have not completed this program? Can you please raise your hands? Okay, do it fast. So we are creating user array. Each time we are adding different values to these variables and creating the user object. Each time that user object is going to each element of the array. So let's run this program. Okay, one more item I will add. In the starting of this for loop, I will give one more item. So I added one more line in the for loop. I added one more line in the for loop. What is the use of this line? Before entering all the data, I will just print this message so that I can understand that right now I am going to give the data of second user. For that I am giving this message. So let's run the program. What is this? Number of users. My number of users are 3. So what we are getting here? Okay, 1 name. Okay. I'm just giving something here. So after giving that all items, what I am getting right now? Enter the details about this second user. Okay, I will give again another one, name, age, fine. Third user details is also asking. I will give one data ID I am giving, then name, then age, gender, mail ID. So at last, after taking the 3 details, correct, 3 user details I am taking and I am creating each object. So first time what I am getting? First object details, correct, then second object details, then third object details. Where is this detail storing? In the users array, because we are printing from users array only, right? Using users array I am printing all the details. Understanding? Any doubt in this? Any doubt? So how can I print array details? Details of an array. Okay, array dot arrays dot toString. So what is the data in this array right now? All are objects. What you are expecting? What you are expecting? If I am printing without this loop, if I am printing arrays users, what will I get? Without this loop, if I am printing just users, what will I get? Memory location, because array I cannot print directly. If I am using arrays dot toString here, what will I get? What is your expectation? What is there in each element of the array? Each element of the array. Object, right? Can I print object directly? If I am printing object directly, what will I get? Memory location, right? So again I have to give 3, okay, 2 items I will give. Second item also I am giving. So what we are printing here? What is this? What is this? Memory location of what? Print array we are printing 2 items, right? You can see the comma. This is first item. This is second item. But what is this? Why we are getting memory location here? Because we are trying to print array. No, we are trying to print objects. So object memory location is there. You can see user. What is this user? That is object. So object memory, and you can see that is stored in different memory location, right? It is not same. So we created 2 objects with the same variable name. See, using same variable name, User is our variable name. With this we created two objects, and that two objects are in different memory location. Getting my point? So how can I print object? How can I print object of a class? By referring like this: user system.out.println user. If I am giving user here directly, it should print all the details about the user, not the memory location. How we can do that operation? Getting my point? Here also the problem is what? By accessing arrays.toString, I am printing all the data inside the array. Data inside the array is what? Object. I cannot print the object. So if I can print the object by just giving system.out.println user. If I am giving user and it is printing all the details about the object, then I can use this technique to print all the details, right? So how can I make this work? If I am making this item work, this will also work. This also will work. So how we can make this work? Which method I am using here to print the array? We already discussed toString. I said we will discuss that even more detail in second module, right? So toString we have to focus right now. Where we will give toString method? User class. Where is user class? There we have to go here down. String toString bracket then. This is what? It is a kind of method, right? Because the return type is there. Public. Static I am not using, because in blueprint class we will not use static keyword. In blueprint class, if it is required we will use, otherwise we will not use static. By default it will be non-static. If any emergency situation is there that I have to use that item as static, then I will use it. So static is a different concept. We will learn that what is use of static. That is why we are not using methods also, nor main method also here. Main method I am not creating in the blueprint class, right? We will discuss about static later. So here I created one method, toString method, right? Return type is string. Method will return something, but constructor will not return anything. It is not a method, right? Okay, so that difference you have to keep in your mind every time. So method toString, what I have to return? If I am calling this method, I have to return all the values of the object. How can I get the values? If I have to print that using a message, then name plus name, correct? Again plus I will give /n. What is the next item? We will start from ID. So ID colon plus ID plus /n, then name colon name, then what is next? Age colon plus age, then /n gender, then colon gender, then this is string formatting only, right? We discussed this in our first module. String formatting we are doing. Then gender plus /n. What is the last? Email ID. Email ID colon plus email ID. we given all the details, right? So if you are not able to do this string formatting, I given you one easy way also. What is that easy way? I given one idea how to give the string formatting. Any idea? What is the easy way of creating this string formatting? No? Name, then what is the next thing? Sorry, ID is first, then name, then age, then gender, then email, ID. These are the things we require, right? In this order we have to print, right? What we are getting here? I copied from there the order and I paste inside the double quotes. Correct, I paste that inside the double quotes. Only something which we have to add here is what? Variable, right? What is the variable? ID. Here also I have to give the variable. Sorry, we have to keep this and plus. What is the variable? Name. Then again, where we have to keep the age value? Double quotes inside that plus age. This is easy technique. If string formatting is not easy for you, then you can use this technique. Age, gender also. Everything is same, right? Both are same here actually. What is the variable? Gender. Here, after this, we can give email ID. Any doubt? Slash R is like a row. You don't have to use that. Even if we are not using that, it is same. So how many escape characters are there? Escape characters. What is escape characters? Slash n is an escape character. Double slash is there. So note down escape characters in Java. You have to search that later. Just note down the name. Escape characters in Java. Slash t is there. Slash n is there. So what is the use of these items in Java? Escape character. So what we have implemented in this? toString, right? What is there in toString? Return what? What we, if I am calling toString, what will I get? What will I get? If I am calling toString, what will I get? Details about the user, right? Object. So ID, then ID will print, name, then name will print, correct? Any doubt in this? Any doubt in this? So right now I implemented toString. toString method, if I am calling toString method, you know I will get what I will get? What we will get? If I am calling toString method, what we will get? We don't have to give parameter. What is toString method? This method is where? Inside user class. And what I am printing? ID. If I am calling, like, this is a class, right? This is the idea. In this idea we created a toString. So this, when I am creating an object, that object will have this constructor. that object will have this toString method. So object dot toString I am calling, then that object details I will get in this way, right? Getting my point? This entire thing is what? This entire thing is what? What is this item? Class. Class is what? Class is an idea or structure, or we can say blueprint of object. So if I am creating an object means these all things whatever I am giving in this class will create inside the object, right? Inside. So one object is created, all these things will be there inside that object. Another object is created, all these things will be there inside that object. So whenever I am creating a new object, all these items are making a copy, right? And it is creating inside that object. So object dot toString if I am calling, I don't have to specify any values there. Object dot toString. So toString method will call, inside toString method whatever data are there in that object, that will print. Getting my point? Because it is related to object, right? Object dot toString. So whatever data are available inside that object, that data will print in this order. Okay? So in main we are calling users. Like instead of this, what I will do is I will go through each elements of the array. How can I go through each elements of the array? Less than or equal to is not required. Less than users dot length, then how can I go through each element of the array? Sys out, okay, users of I dot, can I call toString right now? Why? Because I created that in the class. Getting my point? toString is a method. I can call toString here. Users of I dot, because users of I means what? This is not array. Users of I is not an array. Users of I is what? It is an object. It is an object of user. Users is array. Users of I is what? An element inside that array, right? An element inside that array is what? Object of user. So object of user dot toString. toString is the method which I created inside the user class. So I can call that method using object name sc dot nextInt. What is sc? What is nextInt? sc, correct? You created scanner class object sc, then sc dot nextInt. NextInt is the method inside the scanner class. So when you are creating an object, these methods are also implemented inside that object. So object dot, you can call that method name. So method will come and perform the logic. So here also this item is an object, not an array. Array is this one. Users is an array. Users of I is what? Object, right? Why? Because users is an array which contains objects. So users of I is an element inside the array. An element inside the array is object. Object dot toString. So toString is a method which is there in user class. So using user object, I can call toString. Correct? So if I am calling toString, what will I get? I will get all the details about the user. Let's try. So previously what we did, we were calling users of I.id, printing ID, users of I dot name. In that way we are printing in different lines, right? But here after creating the toString, that printing, exactly that same printing things we implemented in toString. So if I am calling toString, what will I get? Same thing, right? Same in this format, all the details about that object it will print. So let's try. 3 users I am creating. ID 1, username age is also 1. Just I am giving for understanding. M, mail ID is also something, ID 2, username is something, age is 2, gender is F, mail ID is BBB something, age again 3, no, ID is 3, name is C, age is 3, gender M, C. What we are getting right now? What is this? Detail about first user. Are we printing this in for loop? Are we writing all these print statements in for loop? No. What we are doing? We are calling the first object dot toString. First object in the array dot toString. Correct. First object in the array dot toString. So I am getting all the details about that object. Any doubt? All the details about that object. Again, second time, second object dot toString. What will I get? All the details about the second object. Third time, all the details about the third object. Any doubt in this? So right now I am using toString. There is also one important role for this toString method. If I am specifying toString method in the same way, like to small letter and everything is same, this is the, if this is the name I am specifying, then even if I am not calling this method, previously what we will get if I am printing this object name? Memory location, right? toString will help us to, even if I am not calling that toString method, if I am trying to print the object name, toString will help us to toString will automatically call that toString function, and we don't have to, right now we will not get the memory location. If toString method is there in our class, then if I am trying to call the object name, this is array of I. Array of I means what? It contains object, right? So if I am directly printing object, toString method will automatically call and it will print the whatever there inside the toString method. That is a function of toString. We cannot change the name. If I am changing the name, it will behave as another method. But toString is something which is more than a method, normal methods. So toString, if I am specifying inside a class, then after that, if I am creating an object and I am trying to print that object using system.out.println, I will get the details about the object. There I will not get memory location. Note down. That is a role of toString method. So here we will try to implement toString method, because we implemented toString method in our user class. So if I am calling arrays.toString, what will I get? What is your expectation? What is the array name here? Users, correct? Users is the array name. That array I am directly passing into toString method of arrays. So inside this, it will print in different, like each object will print in different elements of this array, right? We have already tried this lot of times. Arrays.toString. It will print all the data in different line. So let's see what we will get. So two elements I am adding. One, so what we are getting? One bracket is opening, right? That is array bracket. Correct. Array bracket is opening. First object detail is printing. Then you can see one comma. Correct. Then second item object details are coming. At last bracket is closing. What is this? Array. That array we are printing using toString method. So toString method is actually for what? Converting the item into the object details in object into string. So we are creating object, and that object we can call that directly using object name by the help of this toString method. Any doubt? Any doubt on toString? Is that clear? So how many things we learned today? Constructor. What is the use of constructor? Initializing, creation and initialization, both together, right? Then, so in that way we reduce the number of lines. Otherwise we have to write lot of things, right, for creating one object. So then, after that, how to create n users, because n means user is selecting. We don't know how many users, how many objects will be there. So our user is selecting how many user objects he have to create. Correct. For that we require, we need some area to store that n elements. That is why we are taking array. Correct. Array we can create n elements with n size. So n elements, n positions will be there. Correct. And what is the data type of array? User. Why? We have to store n objects of user. That is why we are giving user array. And in this user array, we first have to create the object, and that object I will add into the array. Here we are creating the object from user end, and we will add that element into the each index position of the array. One by one we will add the object into each index position of the array. Yeah, tell me, what is the doubt? Error? Where? Which one? Which one? While creating the array? Yes. Because user object I am going to store, right? Then. Who said only predefined data I can create as? I said non-predefined or non-primitive or non-primitive data I can use for array. Okay. I didn't say like we can only create primitive items for array. Did I say like that? No. So here what I am using? Non-primitive item. All classes are non-primitive. How many non-primitive data types are there in Java? Strings, arrays, class interface, right? So class, here user is our class, user defined class. Getting my point? So any class I can consider as a non-primitive data type. Any class I can consider as a non-primitive data type. So non-primitive data type is our user here, and that user can contain n different type of datas. What are the n different type of datas here we are using? This is what? Integer. This is what? So different type of datas I am using, right? Inside one class, user is the class. So if I am considering this as my data type, string is a data type, integer is a data type. Here I am considering user is our data type. So how many datas are there inside the user? User is not storing one data, one value. User is storing how many values? 5 different values I can store inside user. Getting my point? So I can consider this as my data type, and this data type contains 5 fields. So whenever I am creating an object, this 5 fields are also creating inside that object. Understanding? I can initialize the values to that 5 fields. So constructor is using to initialize and create and initialize together. Object initialization and creation is performing together with the help of constructor. And what is the use of toString? we like like to print the object details. toString method we can use whatever we are giving inside the toString. It will be called automatically, even though if we are not calling the toString method, it will call automatically while performing what? System.out.println object name. Correct. Previously, before toString, before implementing toString method, we were getting what? Memory location, right? After creation of toString, we are getting the details about the user. So actually what is happening? If I am calling the object name, it will automatically call the toString method and it will print. Whatever string data are available there, it will print here. Is that clear? Constructor and toString. Any doubt in this? Any doubt in this? So search how many type of constructors are there. And what is this type? What is the name of this type of constructor? How many type of constructors are there? And what is the type of this constructor? What is the name of this constructor? Find out. What is this constructor name? Parameterized constructor, right? Okay. So how many other constructors are there? We have to learn default constructor and parameterized constructor. So what is default constructor? Default constructor. While creating the object, class name and okay, what is default constructor? Default constructor does not have any parameter, right? Parameterized constructor means what? We will refer the parameters here. If I am like here I created one parameterized constructor, correct? Here I created the parameterized constructor. Right now, okay, like any doubt in this code? Can I remove this code? Okay, listen here. You know what is this line? What we are doing here? Creating object by passing the variables values in constructor. So it will create the object and initialize the values in same line, correct? Any doubt in this? So previously if after creating the object, if I am trying to print user, I was getting memory location. Right now what we will get? Doubt? Right now what we will get? Why we are getting value? toString. Any doubt in this? So with the help of toString, instead of getting memory location, we are getting this will call automatically, it will call toString method and it will print whatever we given inside this part. So we are getting all the details. See, this ID variable, this value from where it is coming? Here while printing, from where this value is coming? 1. From the object, because we created the object and the ID value of the object is what? 1. That value is printing. Getting my point? It is not going and assigning to the class. Class is just an idea, we already discussed. So this value updation and everything will happen in the object. While after creating the object, we are performing all the other options, right? Operations, right? So it will reflect in the object, not in the class. Fine. So any doubt in this? Yes or no? With the help of toString, it is printing all the data about. So how many lines are required right now to create and print all the data? 2, right? So right now we were discussing on the constructor. So we created a constructor. Our constructor is parameterized constructor. All the data are passing. Correct? So if this constructor is not there, then what we were doing actually, before this, what we were doing actually, all these items we were giving, like what is the error here right now? Parameterized constructor is not there in the class, user class. I commented that. So right now it will not take the data. Correct? And we were using object name dot id equal to value, giving value. Correct? Then again user dot name, then we are giving value. Correct? So if I am trying to print this object, what will I get? What about remaining data? I given id1, name Ajin, age is 0, character I am getting something which is not visible, string null. What is these items? We discussed about default values. So default values are coming. Here also, what is character default value? Unicode is there, right? So that is, there is no representation. That is why we cannot see that. But while selecting it is coming. Getting my point? Then these are default values. So in this way, while we were creating, what is this item? Constructor. Do I have any constructor in this class? Then how it is performing? Getting the idea behind like this, whatever I am explaining. Constructor is not there. How it is creating the object? Default constructor, right? Default constructor is using, but I have not specified any constructor here. Then how it is creating the object? So in this case, note down this point. In this case, if JVM, like if we are creating an object using default constructor, and that default constructor is also not there in the blueprint class, like you don't have to write that full sentence. First listen, and in your own way you can note the points. If I am creating an object with a default constructor where default constructor is not there in our blueprint class, at that time JVM will create a default constructor while executing. Getting my point? JVM will create. What is JVM? So JVM will create a default constructor for us so that we can create the object. If there is no constructors available inside the class, no constructors available, there should not be a default, like you can consider there is no default constructor or parameterized constructor. If constructor concept is not there in your class, JVM will help you to create default constructor. Point number 1 that you can note down in your own way. Then, so here I don't have any constructor in my class. Default constructor I am using. So JVM is creating the constructor. Correct? Then how can I create a constructor? How can I create a constructor in our class? This is the constructor, right? What is this constructor? Parameterized constructor. So I created a parameterized constructor. I created a parameterized constructor. Right now in our class, how many constructors are there? 1. Only one is there, right? Check. Only one is there, right? Only one constructor is there. That is parameterized constructor. Correct? Okay. So right now, can I use default constructor? Why? Why it is showing error? JVM will not create default constructor. When? When at least one constructor is available inside the class. Note down. So JVM will not create a default constructor for us when when at least one constructor is available inside the class. It can be parameterized constructor. If it is a default constructor, then no need of creation, right? If it is a default constructor available inside the class, then JVM should not create any constructor because already that is there. When a parameterized constructor is created by a programmer, JVM will not create default constructor because it is a rule. If one constructor is there, you have to use that constructor. JVM will not create the default constructor there. So here the problem is we have a parameterized constructor, so I have to call that parameterized constructor to create the object. Getting my point? So we already used this parameterized constructor, right, from main method. We can give all the values directly into this constructor. Order should be same. The order of value that we are giving here should be same as the order of parameterized constructor. Correct? Getting my point? Any doubt? So, when JVM will not create a default constructor? If there is at least one parameterized constructor available. Then at that time, I am saying, like, I am creating an object. My object details I am giving. So I given all the details. Consider if I don't have the detail, if I don't have these two details about the user, if I don't have the two details, at least it can be two, one, at least. Okay, if I am saying I don't have the details about this email detail, I don't have about this user. So can I remove that part? Why? Number of argument and number of parameters should be same, right? So in this situation, what will I do? I don't have a data. One data I don't have. At least one data I don't have. But I have to create the object for that user. We have to use default constructor. But in this case, why it is not like, can I give default constructor? Then how we will overcome this situation? We have one parameterized constructor, but I don't have all the details about the user. So how will I survive in that situation? Situation is what? We have parameterized constructor, we have to follow that. But for one user, I don't have one data, like one data I don't have. At that time, I cannot use parameterized constructor. Then what will I do? I have to use this default constructor, but default constructor is not there in the class. Only one thing we have to do is what? Go to the class, create. What is default constructor? What is default constructor? Without using any parameter, we are just creating default constructor. So here I can say my ID equal to default values. Any default value I can specify. It will take default value directly from the variables. That is different thing. But I can also specify some default value. So my default value is 10. If one person is not giving ID, his ID is 10. If one person is not giving the name will be, I am deciding this. I can give any as default value. So it will not perform that particular default value of the data type. It will take the default value as this. Correct? Getting my point? So here I am specifying just my default values. I am specifying my default values. So what is the next data? Age. If age is not specified, then 18 is the age. Then gender. Understanding what I am doing here? When we have to create default constructor in our program, in our blueprint class, when we have to create default constructor in our blueprint class, when I don't have the full details about the object and I cannot use the parameterized constructor, so I have to forcefully create my own default constructor in the blueprint class. So here we create a default constructor, right? And also I am specifying default value. This is not mandatory. You don't have to write default value. If there is a case of giving default value, then you can apply that. Getting my point? This is not mandatory. This selected portion is not mandatory. But default constructor is mandatory. That you have to create. Default values are not mandatory. I can remove this part also. So right now, if I am going to the class, is that working now? This part was showing error, right? Yes or no? If it is not there, this part was showing error, right? If it is there, save. Every time save the code, save the blueprint, then go to main. Is that showing error now? So default is working, right? If I have to specify default value, then I can specify that inside here. Like this. Getting my point? Mark the attendance. So right now, every time after making any changes, save the blueprint class and go to main method. Here I am not specifying any data, right? I am using default constructor and printing the data. What will I get in output? All default values I will get. All the default values that I given, that I will get here. So if I am giving user dot name, I know name. Name I know, so I am giving that name. Then I am giving ID also. But remaining details I don't know. So what will I get? What will I get in output? I know only these two items about the user. See, one is updated, right? Name is also updated. What is these other things? These are default values. Useful, right? Getting my point? So, constructor, parameterized constructors are there. Default constructors are there. Parameterized constructor also I can create in n different ways. Because if I am changing the order of this, it will make a new constructor, right? New parameterized constructor. I can also use parameterized constructor as only for these three datas. I can create in any way. That is up to our requirement. Based on the requirement, we will choose which parameter I have to take while creating the object. Getting my point? So that is also there. Even I can call one constructor from another constructor, that we will discuss later, not now. Calling one constructor from another constructor, that we will discuss later. Any doubt right now? No, right? Is this clear? Everything, whatever we discussed today. What are the things we discussed today? First one is constructor. Then how to take n number of objects. Correct. Using array. We can use array. For non-primitive data types, we can use arrays. So here we are using user array. Users is the name of user array. Then toString. What is the use of toString? To convert the object into string. All the details about the object we are printing in string format. Correct. So for that we are using toString, and also one advantage is there. If toString method is mentioned in the class, then I don't have to specifically call the toString method. I can just write the object name. Instead of memory location, it will print all the details inside the toString. Any doubts? Okay, so tomorrow we will start from access modifiers. So you can focus on that today. Go through that concepts, so it will be easy for you to understand what is access modifiers. Access modifiers. And okay, tomorrow we will complete encapsulation. What is OP concept? How many pillars are there in OOP? 4. What are the pillars? Encapsulation, inheritance, okay, abstraction, polymorphism. So tomorrow we will complete one of this item, that is encapsulation. We will discuss all the questions that you can expect from interview also along with this. So focus, your focus is important. Okay.